Everyone, Ryan here. I am a Bible nerd. This is part two of my series about my trip to Israel. And it started off going to Washington, D.C., which I've never been before, and going to the Museum of the Bible. I was so excited about seeing this stuff because there was just so many displays I had saw online and some of the things I see on Facebook. I'm always liking their content. Just love the Museum of the Bible. And a chance to be able to stop there on the way over to Tel Aviv just made a ton of sense. Plus, they were having an after hours event with some stuff with C.S. Lewis that they have an exhibit there. And they also have the Megiddo Mosaic was only there until July. So it was like a great opportunity to see that before that exhibit left. So it just made perfect sense to time my trip to Israel with a stop in Washington, D.C. to go to this particular museum. So just me in this video here, first going to the museum and just the front of the museum. And I'll have a couple other slides here. We'll just go through kind of some of the things I was able to capture from that incredible trip. Just loved it. It was so much fun. Had a chance to nerd out like crazy. And the quality of the displays, the things at the museum, I was really, really impressed with. So take a look at this.
We made it. We are at the Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C. We're right across the street. Check this out. Holy cow. The Museum of the Bible. Oh! Yep.
Well, you could tell I was pretty excited. It was really an opportunity to be able to see that museum, which was really great. And in that photo, you can see, or that video, you can see my wife. She was able to join me kind of on that first leg to Washington, D.C. And then we parted ways. I went to Tel Aviv and she went back home. But it was pretty cool to have her there in D.C. on those couple days we were able to spend there. And of course, I had to get the shirt. So got the shirt, people. I thought it was just so funny to see that shirt right there. But a couple other videos I want to do here, a couple little snippets, are some of the displays that were in the museum that I just really, really thoroughly loved. So check out this one on the Megiddo Mosaic. Absolutely incredible. So why is this mosaic floor so important? What makes it such an incredible find? So what this does is it shows that the early Christians worshiped Jesus as God, and it predates the idea of the Nicene creeds or Constantine or Roman influence or whatever it might be. It pushed that back even further, where the early Christians worshiped Jesus as God, and later would be called the Trinity. And so to find this really puts a lot of holes in the idea that this was a developed idea, that it was created after the creeds or created after churches or popes or whatever it might be. So it really is just incredible to be able to find something with archaeology to kind of back up the ideas that would later be called the Trinity. Also, what's really unique with this floor is it names the centurion that kind of sponsored it or paid for it. Then you have these women that are listed. They were a big part of the community there. Maybe they helped donate the building or the floor or just a big part of the early ministry there in this particular area. So it's just an incredible find. I mean, right up there with the Dead Sea Scrolls as far as Bible reliability. This pushes back some of the idea of the Trinity to very early, really, really early on. Also, what you see with this floor is maybe one of the first actual churches for Christianity or for worship, communal worship, because before that it was really house churches, or they would meet in houses. This might have been a specific space built for the Last Supper, for the Eucharist, for communion, and for these people that were worshiping Jesus as God. So it's just an incredible find. And they found it in Megiddo. They were actually doing a remodel. They were expanding this prison. And as they were digging up, they found this particular floor. It looks like they did a lot of work to try to preserve it, hoping maybe they were going to be able to come back to this space or the building. So who knows why they were forced to leave under persecution or something like that happened. But it does look like they made some effort to try to protect this floor to eventually come back, and obviously never did until it was rediscovered. So just an incredible discovery. The museum has it on display until July. Then I believe it goes back to Megiddo, or maybe somewhere else before it goes back to Megiddo. So it's a great opportunity. If you live in the DC area or somewhere around there, highly recommend you go check this out. It's one of the first displays I went to because I want to make sure I had enough time with it. And I didn't know all the other displays that were at the museum, but I knew this was there. So it's like, okay, we're going to go check this thing out right off the bat, start the whole trip off with a huge bang, and just such a well lit, well done display there at the Museum of the Bible. I was just so impressed with the entire building in general, but that was the first thing that we ran up to see. So let's check out a couple of the things that we videoed. One of the things I really wanted to see was the great Isaiah scroll. They have a facsimile of it that does talk about the Dead Sea. So that's why I have a little bit of a slide here on the remake, the little facsimile that they have there at the museum. How cool is that? It was so cool seeing that display of that facsimile and just how big the Isaiah scroll is. It's even known as the Great Isaiah Scroll. It's just crazy to think that all the way up to the discovery in the Dead Sea, that we didn't have a complete copy of Isaiah, such a pivotal, such an important book in the Hebrew text, that we didn't actually have a complete copy of it until the Dead Sea Scrolls, and to be able to find out how reliable it was, that we're talking 2,000-year time capsule of Isaiah, to be able to see how close we got it, how well it was translated. It's amazingly accurate to what we have. And all the other discoveries that were done in the Dead Sea. There's over 970 fragments and other scrolls that have been found. I mean, the Great Isaiah Scroll is probably the most significant in the reliability of translation and the history of all those things. Because there's a bunch of religions out there, whether they're Christian or not, that believe that the Bible is mistranslated or it's not that reliable. So when you have a time capsule of these documents that go way, way, way further back than anything else we had, and to see the work and effort to get these works translated in other languages from their originals, and just the incredible work that's done, really commemorates those that preserve these documents in such meticulous fashion. There is 33 copies of Deuteronomy that have been found or put together from the Dead Sea Scrolls. That's incredible. You got 24 copies of Genesis. There is 20 copies so far of Isaiah, including the Great Isaiah Scroll, which you can see there as part of that video. That's about 99% intact. You can see the bottom of it's frayed in a couple spots. But just incredible to see that display, even though it was a facsimile, it's not the original one. That one's back in Israel. But wow, I just love that section on the Dead Sea Scrolls that led you into other translation history and the work to preserve these documents, and the work to be able translated into languages that we can understand. Because languages are very dynamic. Even in my own lifetime, words change meaning and have different significance. And so you have to kind of change it with that as well, which is why we have other translations to be able to make sure that we're getting either thought for thought ideas or word for word translations as well, and everything in between. But just love this next section. So this next part of the video is where we went through and spent a ton of time going through the history of translation. And I tell you what, the displays, the lighting, the boxes that the original Bibles were in was so well done. The lighting, I mean, I just love that area just for that reason alone. And we actually spent so much time in this section that we missed one of the other little shows we were supposed to do because we just were so enamored. I mean, I read everything that was on that floor, read every placard, looked at every single Bible that they had on display. So check out this next section. So cool. It was one of my favorite parts about the museum.
Hey everyone, my name is Ryan and I am a Bible nerd and I am in nerd heaven. I'm at the Museum of the Bible and I'm in the section about translation history and the different copies of Bibles they have on display. This place is absolutely incredible. It just makes you appreciate the work that was done to get the Bible into English and the sacrifices these men had to make. I've been studying a lot more about Tyndale, and he is amazing. In fact, the New King James, or the King James Version, is about 83% influenced by Tyndale. And to see the different Bibles here, to see, it's just amazing. I'm just completely awestruck by these. The beauty of these displays, the history of the translation is absolutely awe-inspiring. I mean, here is a English New Testament, and then over here is kind of the work that was built upon what Tyndale started. Then you have such incredible history of these English translations. You've got the Great Bible of 1539. Look at that. That is incredible. Then you have probably some of the most influential Bibles before King James. The Geneva Bible, which really did the first time you had kind of two columns. The first time you started seeing chapter and verse that we still use today. And of course the Bishop's Bible. Look at the size of this one. That is incredible. And these Bibles is really what led to the King James Version. Wanted to kind of combine and get rid of all the footnotes and some of the things that were creeping into the Bible and come up with a translation that was both readable for the common folk and used by the bishops to be an official Bible. Look at these. Second edition King James. How absolutely amazing. I mean, I am just nerding out like crazy. This one. And then this is so amazing. The many editions. So you can see there's about 150 years of kind of revisions and corrections and new discoveries to make sure it was written correctly. So you had the 1611 edition, and then you had the 1769 edition. These are just so incredible. Look at the size of this one. So cool. We're here at the Museum of the Bible, and we're in an incredible display of all Bibles in different languages. So they have a copy of all these Bibles that are in these different languages. And then, and here's New Testament, so here's all the New Testament languages. Look at how incredible this is. To have a copy of all these in these languages. And then different portions, not quite done all the way. There's some more portions. There's ones in progress. So these are the ones currently being translated. Look at this wall. And then you get the restricted languages. Because the Bible translation is not allowed in their country or in their language. Look at these empty cases ready to translate once they can. And the ones that have not yet begun. I mean, wow. And I think we take for granted sometimes the freedom we have in our country and how hard it is to get the Bible into everybody's hands, but how much work has been done. I wonder what Tyndale or Luther would think about seeing something like this. And how hard they fought just to get the English translations done. And the work that's being done at this very moment to help people of every nation, every tribe, to have access to this incredible work we call the Bible. This place is amazing. If you ever have a chance in Washington, D.C. to go to this museum, this is an incredible building. that honors history, the beauty. This place is amazing. And just how well done each display is, and the honor that they give it is just amazing. Well, that was an all-day deal. And they had to kick us out of here. What? What? They had to kick us out of here, right? Yeah, they had to kick us out of here. Wow.
Can you guess what time it is? We got there at 10 when they open. Can you guess what time it is?
I don't know.
We went to an after hours event, so that gives you an idea.
Yeah. They had an after hours, so they let us stay longer.
Watch a play.
We watched this really cool play that was like Warren Lewis, which is C.S. Lewis's brother, and this correspondence he had with a lady. It was really a beautiful little play. But this thing's big. I mean, look how big this thing is. Like 7 floors, 6 floors. There's really cool history even just on the building this is in.
This building's been here for, I think it's at 100 years. It's got all the pictures and everything in there. But it was last a furniture showroom store. And then in, what was it, it was 2004. It was in 2004 they decided to turn it into the Museum of the Bible. I think it was 2004.
But I mean, it's amazing. I mean, that was really cool. I mean, it's just really well done. Layers of it.
Yeah.
And just so many good exhibits in there. It wasn't like it was just one floor. It's like 6 floors of stuff. They had little rides in there. I mean, they had all kinds of cool stuff.
Movies and
they had little movies.
Touchscreen interaction things that you could learn. They had a whole floor for the Bible itself. They had a C.S. Lewis exhibit with all the first editions from all his books.
There was so many like early first edition stuff. There was some facsimiles. There was the great Isaiah scroll that was just a facsimile of the originals back in Israel, but they had like a facsimile of it on the wall, which was really cool. And they had a bunch of first edition like Bibles and all kinds of stuff. I mean, that was cool. If you're ever in D.C., you need to check. I mean, the history alone of the Bible is just unbelievable, let alone how cool it is to see some of the displays. So I did a bunch of videos. The Megiddo mosaic was there. That was the first thing we went and saw. But we literally were there all day.
Yeah.
I loved it. Might go back tomorrow.
When you go in, they'll ask you, and it has like a little thing of how long can you spend here, and they'll have like 3 hours or half day or all day, and they'll give you a route to go based on that.
Yeah, that place was cool. There's a lot of museums in DC, but I tell you what, that was really cool. Obviously because
Well, there you have it. Me completely nerding out on an incredible experience at the museum. I highly recommend, if you're in the area, even close, planning a trip, go to the Museum of the Bible. It is well worth it. An incredible facility. The lighting, the gift shop, the food, no complaints whatsoever. Of course, I'm a little biased being a Bible nerd, but it was so worth it. Such an incredible organization that runs this. The displays, the things that are coming out over the coming year are going to be incredible. There's a whole Narnia thing that they're doing as part of their play series. There's other exhibits I wasn't able to show with this video, but just had so much fun. Loved it, learned so much. Not a bad experience in that entire building. And they also have a podcast I really want to recommend. I'm going to put a link down in the description. Really gotten a lot out of this podcast. I think they're about 10 episodes in so far. Great guests, great topics, so well done. I highly, highly recommend their Unscrolled podcast as well with the Museum of the Bible. So hope you like the channel. Hope you like and subscribe. Hear me at Bible Nerd. You can check out my website at BibleNerd.com. And just let me know what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. If you've been to the museum, if you're planning on going, love to have your feedback on what we're doing here and continue the series through my trip to the Holy Land. So look forward to doing part 3. Love to hear your comments, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.